PlayStation believes in great games.
Hello and good day to you, my beautiful friends. I do hope you are well. Welcome to crossbuttonvr, a beginner's journey into PSVR2, a show for those who want to share in our newcomers' enthusiasm for the world of VR. I am your host, Laurie, and I am joined by only one of my fellow VR virgins today. It's Alex. How are you, Alex?
Hello, I'm well. It's Friday night. We're talking about VR. Can be much better.
Yeah, have you had a good week?
Nah, but it's over.
Nah.
That's the main thing.
Oh dear. So I've had quite a busy week. I've had a very busy week. We've got the builders in, so I haven't actually had much VR time this week because my house is a complete disaster zone, which I'll talk about in a minute when I tried to play some stuff earlier in the week, and I've been away for work as well. So it's been quite the mad week. But tonight we're going to be talking about a few reviews of some other parts of the launch lineup. But before we get to that, I just wanted to remind everyone that we are part of the Cross Players. So if you like what we do, please check out the rest of the Cross Players network. You can follow them at Twitter at the Cross Players. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thecrossplayers, and also our Discord as well, which is really good fun for people to join and chat about what they've been playing. And we've got a special section of that just for PlayStation VR2 as well, if anyone wants to get excited and share what they've been playing as well. If you do like to support us and want to give us a sub, please do. It really helps us if you give us some reviews and subs and likes, and just share us on Twitter. That's the best thing you can do. And if you really like us, please do join our Patreon as well. And for £2 a month, you can gain entry into our lovely WhatsApp. Alex, why don't you start then? If you can let us know what you've been dabbling in this week, and you've also been picking up some accessories to your
I
headsets.
have. Yeah, so I'll start with some dabbling. So I've dabbled in a few little things this week. So firstly, I've dabbled in unplugged air guitar. This is one I thought, looks, I'm quite enjoying the rhythm games of the PSVR2. It's a nice little, it's very easy to jump in, have 10-15 minutes, play a few songs, and just kind of rock out a little bit like we did with Drums Rock. So unplugged air guitar, fairly similar. It's almost like Guitar Hero, but without the guitar. You've just got the controllers, and you're presented with this fake rock star who's taking you through this career mode and kind of chatting you on, and you're trying to gain fans, and you're just like, you do literally feel like you're holding a guitar when you've got the sense controllers in your hands. And then you basically have to, you get the puck in your right or left hand, depending on what handed you are. You're then having the neck of the guitar.
You're doing what with your right hand?
I said puck, but you know what I meant. The plectrum.
Oh, okay.
The plectrum.
The pick.
The pick, yeah. Is that plectrum? Is that the right word? I don't know. I'm not a musician. I'm just a pretend musician. So that's, and then you've got the neck of the guitar, and you're going between, you basically get four sections of the guitar that your kind of hand moves up and down to hit the right notes. And you've got like different holdings with your fingers that then differentiates as well between the notes. And then some you need to strum as you hit it. Some you just need to actually kind of hit the notes without strumming. Some it's a bit you kind of riff out and you kind of just get the fingers going. It's just a lot of fun. You're trying to get the highest score, trying to get the highest combos. There's different little interaction bits and pieces as you go. And then at the end, and I remember when we were talking about Drums Rock and you weren't really in that stage presence with the crowd and stuff. Well, This is very much in that stage presence with the crowd. There's a crowd there, and at the end, like to boost your score, they start throwing like pants and bras and everything at you, and you need to catch them and they're like all the wee bit. So yeah, played a bit of that. I'd highly recommend it for anyone that likes that Guitar Hero experience. A lot of tracks on it that you would know. It's really well. The soundtrack to it is really good. A lot of good songs on there. I think it's only about 20 quid as well. It's not expensive.
It sounds a little bit like actually playing guitar, though. It would make me feel guilty because I have a guitar that I keep trying to one day tell myself that I will actually pick it up and learn it. I know some chords, and it's like what you're describing there about making the fingers. It's like I could actually just spend that time practicing the guitar that I've got. Nowhere
near as technical as that. So you don't. Okay. Yeah, I don't think you'd feel too much guilt. I think you would be fine. So I've been playing about that. I also, obviously, after our interview with Jorg last week around C-Smash VRS and the last work of C-Smash VRS demo is out, and I have played through that, and I thought it was bloody excellent. And as you alluded to, I also picked up some accessories. So what I did pick up was some prescription lenses for my PSVR2, which were incredibly easy to fit. I thought, when I found out about these things, I'm like, oh, these are going to be fiddly. I'm never going to bother with these. I'll just wear my glasses, because my glasses weren't really annoying me, but I don't wear my glasses day to day that often, which is why putting them on to use the VR was a bit of a pain in the arse, because I could never find them. So I thought, I'm going to try these lenses, put them on, and then the first game I then went to play with them on was this, and because it's so crisp, so clinical almost, and then like that vibrant orange and blue in terms of the setting, I'd noticed a big difference straight away. And then as there is a difference in using the lenses, it is much clearer, and then there's also a different, I think the visual fidelity of that game was really good, and the gameplay was excellent. I can really see how that's going to be an addictive game when the full game comes along. The demo's only, I think, 10 stages it's basically 10 stages of a tutorial, and you've got like different targets and stuff you need. That it's just to give you a feel for the game, and there's also a competitive mode in there for the demo, which I haven't managed to play with your Ben yet, but I will soon, and I think that'll be really good. But yeah, mega impressed by that. Mega impressed.
I also downloaded that, and that's one of the things I've been dabbling in. Although at the moment my front room is currently being used to store all the contents of our kitchen boxed up, and so I can only play in the seated or temporary when you put that sort of circular bubble around yourself. And that is not the way to play C-Smash, because you're basically
definitely not
rooted. Every time the ball's coming towards me and I want to just move to the side so I can get a good forehand in, it's like, nope, can't, stay still. So I'm trying to sort of use the stick to move myself to the left. It just doesn't work. You need to be able to move around and step from side to side at least to be able to get a good, and have your arm outstretched to get a good swing on it. Because if I stretch my arm out, I'm just banging into the wall and stuff. So it was very off-putting. Constantly, every time I tried to do anything, was getting the grid coming up to show me that I was reaching the barrier. So that's when I'm going to have to sit down and play properly once I've got my room back to normal. But I did very much like the whole aesthetic of it. It is really great. Look, I'd love to just play a game just set on that space station, Jorg, if you're listening. Please just make me that game. And I love the way that you look around and you can see the people playing seesaw outside in space, and there's just lots of, it's very sort of charming despite being so clinical. There's lots of quirky little touches, and I like it when you start the level, you zoom along the little train. And I've seen someone post a video on Twitter of when you're playing a multiplayer game that your opponent is on the train with you, and you can see them, and you can do like a little dance, or you can wave through and stuff and communicate through body language. And you're not just floating hands in this, so you are a full body avatar, which I love. I love that.
More of that, please.
Yeah, it's great. You can look down and actually see your torso and your feet and stuff. It makes you feel so much more grounded in the space. And I see that if you're playing a game that requires you to mimic the movements of tennis, say, then you do kind of need to have a better understanding of where your body is and what it's doing. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing I've really noticed this week with PSVR2. I genuinely felt like I was holding a guitar. It genuinely felt like there was a guitar with those Sense controllers. And the same when playing C-Smash, I felt like there was a bat in my hand. And it was so responsive in terms of like the velocity that you hit it at, and getting that swing in, and like the different angles and stuff. Like, I was really impressed by how responsive it was.
When you twist your wrist, and the way that it moves and mimics that is so convincing. It's really well done. And even though it doesn't know that your bicep, you're kind of closing your arm, closing your bicep, it still kind of mimics that movement. So it just does feel really realistic. It's strange to do, and because you can see your whole arm and stuff, and that's quite new. I think I've not experienced that before. So for that alone, it's worth trying out, just to experience that virtual simulator experience.
Yep. I look forward to the full release. And what was it, the 23rd of June? They announced that at the time the demo coming out.
Yeah, it's not that long.
3 months.
3 months, and they've got another little game coming out next week as well, which I'm sure we'll be talking about next week sometime. The Last Worker.
Yeah, very excited about that too.
Anything else, Alex, before you want to get onto our review section today?
No, I think that's been it. I mean, other time I've had a little bit more time off of VR this week because I picked up my little friend that's behind me.
I was going to say, in previous episodes, you've had the headset, VR2 headset behind you, and we can't even see that now. You've just got the Steam Deck taking its place.
Yeah.
You're going to be watching cross-button
With
Steam
video
Deck
viewers
next week.
now
Oh yeah, there it
behind
is.
me.
It's behind your head.
It's on top of my Reventail box.
Alex's new Steam Deck podcast that he's starting next week.
Yeah, I'm out to steal Max's SEO.
He's dropping away from cross-button VR, and he's just doing. He's just not to say you've had your head turned or anything.
No, I'm just getting in a bit of everything. I'm greedy.
You are very greedy, and you get lots of abuse for it on WhatsApp. Good. Well, I have started this week Jurassic World Aftermath, the Jurassic Park game in my head, though I'm never going to remember its name. And it's good. I like it. It's cool. It's another narrative game, and it's good because the Jurassic World films, are absolutely terrible, like ridiculously bad. And I love Jurassic Park as a kid. I really love Jurassic Park. And Jurassic World, the first one they did, was quite good. I quite liked it. It's quite fun seeing a open working theme park, and then obviously all goes wrong. But then the next two that they made were just increasingly atrocious. Like, I can't believe that they made one even worse than the fifth one, but they did manage to knock it out of the park in how bad it was. So playing this, I was like a bit reluctant to go back into it, but actually the story that the setup for it, I was like, this is much better than either of the films that they made afterwards. They should have just got the person that wrote the script for Jurassic World Aftermath to come up with the same concept for a film, because it's good, it's tense. So yeah, I'm going to look forward to playing that, and I think it's quite a short game as well.
I look forward to trying that as well, because I think I quite like the art style and stuff of that, and I like the narrative base of it.
It is very much a quest game. It does look, I mean, the art style is very distinctive and cool, but it does generally look a bit shit. It's very very basic graphics, which you think, and I know it's not about graphics, that doesn't matter, but it's just, it's basic just because it's made to run on a mobile chipset, not because it's for any kind of stylistic reasons. Like, lots of the assets are reused, like in every room you go in and stuff. It's very, very simple, but that's not what it's for. That's just not what you're playing it for.
No,
you're playing it for all the Jurassic Park nods and winks and the raptor. And the raptor's quite scary, quite cool. So yeah, I'll keep playing it. It's good.
Awesome.
But that is about it. I think the only other thing we've been playing is currently under embargo, so I shan't mention that. So let's go on to the reviews section of what we've been playing. So we're still plugging away with a lot of the games that are in the launch lineup. As we said before, there was so much there, and we are happily getting through it all. So the first game I want to talk about today is Cosmonious High.
Oh. I'm saying that as if it's a surprise. I didn't know that was the game you were going to talk about, Laurie.
Yeah, and I've mentioned it a few times in the previous weeks where I've been playing it. I've now finished it. So Cosmonious High then is a game where you are cast as a new kid in the school. You are an alien called a Prismy, and it's your first day at a brand new school, and you're there, and your ship that you arrive at the school at crash lands, and then from that point on everything is going wrong in the school. There's fires breaking out, everything's gone haywire, there's things that are smashed everywhere, and your job is to start and have a normal first day at school whilst also dealing with the chaos all around you. It's a really good game. I really liked it. It's a really good game it's a wonderful training lab for playing a game in VR, and it's one of the games that if you're new to VR completely, and as we all are, I think it's been an absolutely fantastic introduction to what you can do in VR. It's just so tactile and interactive. So the structure of the game is you start off and you gain entry into the first classroom, and you have to complete a few lessons within that classroom, and each lesson you do, you earn credits, and then with more credits you can unlock more classrooms. And each classroom you go in, usually something new goes wrong, and that causes you as a Prismy, your reaction to that is to evolve some new power. That's the skill of your species, is that you develop these powers in response to whatever situation and danger you're in. So you develop these powers, and they could be things like you can fire water out of your hands, or fire or ice, or you can manipulate the size of things, or you can read people's minds. Whatever it is, whatever you need to do, you can gain these powers, and then once you've got them, they stay, and you can swap between them. as necessary. So it allows you then to go back to earlier classrooms, and you've got new powers, so you can do different lessons you couldn't do before. And you can see new things in the classroom that you didn't notice before. You can see that you can interact with things, or there'll be secrets there that you didn't see before, or you couldn't access before. So it's kind of like a Metroidvania structure in that way. You gain access to, you can go back to earlier areas and see things in a different light, which is really cool. And the way that, because you're playing it in VR, the whole you put your hands out and you fire the powers out of your hand, and you sometimes need to swap between them. And at first it feels a bit fiddly swapping between them, but after half hour of playing the game, or an hour or so, it becomes so natural, and you feel so powerful, and you're just so cool, because all the rest of the classmates, they don't have any powers, so they all just think you're wonderful and they're just in awe of your powers and stuff, which is how you feel in that role. So it just makes you feel so special, and like big grin on your face sort of game.
I'm quite surprised when you used the term Metroidvania there. That wasn't that wasn't what I was expected to hear from this game. So is it, in terms of like getting your powers, does that kind of put you into those like almost like puzzle room type situations and making them more mini games and bits and pieces like that, or is it kind of story driven? Or
it's a clever kind of, there is a story element to it where you're trying to work out why everything's gone wrong and what's happened. There's an AI that controls the school, and why is it basically malfunctioning that's always causing all this stuff to go wrong, and you have to unpick that. And there's lots of side stories as well. So you're in a school, and there's people running for class president, and people trying to make the yearbook, and there's people with crushes on each other, and some of the teachers have got some pasts you unravel and get involved in. So there's lots of things, but it's all very, very silly and very funny, and just doesn't take itself seriously at all. So the point of the story is irrelevant, really. It doesn't really matter. You can kind of not really pay attention to it, just have fun messing about with all the things in the classroom. But it's more, you go into a classroom in that kind of Nintendo-ish fashion as well. It gives you a power, it lets you test it and try it and learn it and master it in a few lessons, and because you're in the classroom, so you've got the teacher there explaining to you what you do and how you use this new power. So it's very, very good at you walking you through it. And then once you've got it, you think, okay, I've got the hang of this now. I've mastered the mechanic, how I use it in VR, how I move my hands to make it do what it needs to do, and the buttons I need to press in combination with that. So it introduces you to a concept, lets you practice it, lets you nail it, and then you can go off on yourself and use it elsewhere. So it's very clever in that respect. And then you're building up your powers, so the complexity of what you can do in each classroom goes on. And there's about 100 credits you can earn around the school. When I finished the game, I think I got about 40 of them. So you can put a lot of time in if you want to go back and unlock all of these. So it's a great game, I think, if you're just I think it costs it's £25, so it's not the cheapest game out there, but it's not an expensive game by any stretch. But you can, if you're going to buy one game, you can really spend a lot of time, sink a lot of time in it, and as well as the main, the main campaign, the main lessons you have to do around the school. There's lots of other activities you can do and puzzles you can solve, and all of them will earn you credits and things. And so there's lots and lots to do in it. There's lots of collectibles, lots of things to find hidden in the school and stuff, different things, maybe too much almost. But if you can just ignore it like I did. But yeah, it just the thing with it, and this is kind of the Alchemy, the developers, their calling card really. It's very tactile, very much you can reach out and grab and interact things. There's lots of chunky buttons and things you can pick up, and you're in a science lab, so you can imagine there's lots of things where you've got solutions that you have to stir and then warm up and then freeze and mix with other things. So you're sort of holding your hands out and pouring from one test tube beaker into another. So it's very tactile and interactive, and that's just what in a really enjoyable sense in VR. It's great, because a lot of the other stuff that we're playing in VR is you're shooting things or you're dancing to things, whereas this is much more intricate and interactive, and it's a bit slapstick, because trying to do these things is inherently inaccurate when you're doing them in VR. You can't do very delicate operations, although obviously the controllers are excellent with PSVR2, but it's still not like you're actually using your hands to do something. So it is silly, and you are an alien and stuff, but it's a quite a unique experience in VR that I've had so far, and one I very much enjoyed.
Because I've been playing Vacation Simulator from same developer, and it very much does sound like a kind of, it sounds like a progression of that, because that's that same. I haven't finished it yet enough to in terms of reviewing it, but it sounds like that same kind of thing. You're certain where it's like maybe you need to make a meal and you're putting all the parts of a meal together, or you need to take a picture, or you need to like find things. So it definitely sounds like a kind of next step up from the other games that they made, which have been I've really enjoyed what I've played of that game as well. So it certainly sounds like something I would take a look at, in that nice kind of different, fun, like not low thought experience, but it's just kind of that easy experience. Probably a nice.
Yeah, it doesn't really push back too much. You can just mess around and just experiment with things, and you'll get rewarded for it. And it looks really nice as well. It's got a really very, very bright and vibrant colour palette. Very nice, chunky, very crisp, and you move around with teleportation as well. So it's another way you can. It's snap turning and teleportation, moving around, but you get very adept at moving around quickly. So again, and it's that VR training thing. By the end of it, I felt much better and had a much better understanding of how to play games in VR, having played this, which is what I understand the job that Job Simulator, their first game, did, and Vacation Simulator did. And you're right, they do all build on each other, and I have seen that as a criticism some people have levelled against this game, in that it's reusing a lot of the same mechanics, like you're cooking things for people at one point in the cafeteria, which is something that you do in kind of all of their previous games. So I think there's more design, though. If you are coming into new to VR now, you get this one. This is the latest one they've iterated on, and so you don't need to pick up Job Simulator. And I think the studio have said that they kind of want people to stop buying Job Simulator because they've iterated on that and they've made better versions of it. But that's the one that everyone's heard of, so that's the one that everyone buys still. But it's like they've just kind of not kind of remade it, but they've
refined it almost.
They've refined it. They're not so much the sequels that they expect everyone to play. It's more, this is for someone new to VR, this is the game we expect people to pick up, and just pick up our latest one. That's the only one you need to play. You don't need to play all of our back catalogue, is the sort of sense that I get from it. But whatever, I very much recommend this, and I am interested to go back to play the other two games that they've got, Job Simulator and Vacation Simulator, because it's just simple fun. It really made me laugh in a lot of places and giggle. You can cause a lot of mischief and havoc and stuff, which is always fun, because you can turn your hands into being able to spit out paint and just make such a huge mess and upset all the teachers and stuff while reading their mind. And it's just very silly and rewarding in how it rewards your want to experiment. So that's what I mean about it's kind of a very Nintendo-esque game, that it kind of understands what you're going to try and do and then rewards you for it.
I'm going to ask the Ben question. How generous is it with trophies?
I'm not a very good person to ask. I need
come
to
on,
pay
Laurie.
more attention.
You need to pay more attention
to these. They kind of pop. They do pop without me doing anything. I think if you collected all the stuff, you'd get more. You get a trophy just for even getting all your powers and stuff, which you can just do throughout the campaign. So you're fairly generous with your trophies. You talk, and I'll look up if you like.
I'd imagine you probably need to like get all those 100 lessons or credits and everything that you imagine to get all the trophies. So it's probably not the easiest platinum, Ben. Just so you know.
No, and you'd probably want to get a guide, I suppose, if you're going to try and do everything, and because some of the puzzles, some of the things you sort of see, like I think, what do you want me to do to get this credit? I don't quite understand it. If you're that sort of way inclined, and there were a few points that I got a bit stuck. I was just like, I can't work out how I finished this lesson, and it was just me being stupid, or just I was too tired and not really paying enough attention to what they were trying to teach me to do. It was entirely my fault, but when I was trying to Google it, because it's quite a new game, there wasn't too much in the way of guides. It was all YouTube video for help and stuff, and I was like, oh god, I'm not sitting through one of these YouTube videos. I've very much enjoyed it. Very, very much liked it.
Cross button recommended?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the vomit scale, none at all, but I suppose I kind of need to let that fall away when I'm reviewing games, because nothing I've played in PSVR2 has made me vomit so far, but this especially didn't at all. The grumpy old man, you can do it all seated, so that's fine. It's probably best if you're standing up, just so you can sort of reach out and grab things, and you have to just bend down and pick stuff off the floor. But it's certainly not a room scale type thing. You can definitely stand in one spot and sit down in one spot if you want to make it work. So from that grumpy old man scale, it's pretty good. The wow factor comes from the tactile interactiveness of it all, and how innovative and silly all that is. So it did not kind of wow in awe, but just it really made me laugh and smile in that sort of wow sense. Is it a decent game? I mean, you wouldn't play this if it wasn't in VR. So there isn't. It depends. Really, there's not much of a game to it. The game is just experimenting and interacting with things in VR. So it is very much a VR experience. But if you're new to VR and you want to find something that's going to really help you understand the medium, I think you could do a lot worse than this. And also, this is a great game for younger players as well. There's nothing in this that's at all. It's very wholesome. It's, again, very Nintendo-esque. But there's a few people that I've been talking to on Twitter who I recommended it to them and their kids, and they come back and tell me that it's their kids' favourite game that they've played so far on VR2. So I think it's very much a kids' game as well.
It's always nice to hear, isn't it? Getting that bit of feedback back. But no, it sounds good. One that I'm not saying I'm going to rush to pick it up, because you say probably not an iteration on Vacation Simulator. I'm doing it a disservice there, but I don't feel like I need to rush out and buy it, having been in the middle of enjoying Vacation Simulator, but something I might try down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Give yourself a bit of breathing space between the two, and then maybe when this is on sale, it'd be worth picking up and playing.
What I have been playing, again, so this is the one I've been playing the most, and it's not generally my type of game. It's probably a good way of starting this, but I'll come back and round and see how it surprised me. But I have been playing DYSCHRONIA Chronos Alternate. Should probably known from the title that it was going to have something to do with time. Didn't click before I started playing it, but it definitely does. So what it is, it's basically, I'd almost describe this as a visual novel, but there is some interactivity to it. So it's like an anime murder mystery, and you're in this city which has been, it's almost that all the residents of the city live in this, it's like an alternate reality. It's kind of hard to describe. What they reference it as augmented dreaming, where they're all effectively in this shared unconscious, and it's kind of regulating the behaviour of this protected city, which is protected from the rest of the universe. And ultimately the story opens up as this city is collapsing. It's basically facing like extinction. It's unravelling around like the key protagonist of the game, who is Hal. And Hal's job is to work out who committed the murder. So the creator of the city has been murdered, and Hal he's been appointed the key investigator of, probably worth noting, he's just literally at the very beginning of the game, he is sitting his test to become a supervisor, and the very first thing he is then appointed to is to be the key investigator of this murder of the founder of this city, and who has like basically created all these programs that make this augmented dreaming reality city. And it's really quite a cool game. Like when you see it at first, you're like, the presentation of it, and you're in the middle of this world, and you feel in the middle of the world. You feel like the sense of danger at the beginning as you're trying to feel it very much almost gave me like, I'm scared to say this because it's a game that I've been really detrimental of in the past, but it gave me like almost Nier Automata vibes, that kind of art style, that kind of visual, like you kind of go around against these robots and stuff, and it's nowhere near as technical as that. It's nowhere near as dramatic, and
it sounds sort of Astral Train kind of near.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
But you then go back to the beginning to see, like, ultimately I think it's like a 7-day time period between where you start the game and then where you are then transported back to solve this mystery of the game. Right. And you don't have many tools to begin with, but all you have, basically, you get, same as what seems to be like a VR staple, you've got like 2 wristwatches almost. One which kind of gives you all your different information, and one which kind of, your key thing manipulates time. So you need to investigate these crime scenes to find clues to piece together this murder. And you get this lovely little pink robot assistant called Lily, whose head you can give a little rub, and she loves a little head rub, and she gives you a little giggle, and it's all very wholesome. And you're kind of meeting all these different characters.
Wholesome or a bit weird?
That is a little bit weird. It probably is a little bit weird. So wholesome's probably the wrong word. But one of the key things that you can do is manipulate time. So you find these different pieces of evidence and you can hold them, use your little contraption on your left arm, which will basically take you back in time to give you a memory attached to these.
Are these like little vignettes that you can walk around in and watch them play out in front of you, but not interact with, kind of thing?
No, you're still kind of interacting. So that's almost the added element that when you are then going back to some of them, it is just a vignette and you are just seeing a memory, and some of them you have to manipulate that memory to change the course of time. So there's some things that is required for it. It's not really a spoiler, but one of these things, you pick up this, it's almost like a staff, and it takes you back to a memory of when someone's like setting the security requirements of a computer, and you can make them choose the other option so that it means in the current day you can access it, whereas it's not locked down and things like that. So it just slight nuances. So it's not overly interactive in terms of you don't have to do a lot, but there are enough to keep you interested, enough to keep you investigating. And where it does have a little bit of a wow factor is it very much gives you that Minority Report feel. So you can open up all your different menus, and it's like these screens that open up before your eyes, and you can click on pressing all the little bits, and it opens up even further, and then it gives you the bits of evidence that you can then try and piece together with different parts of the puzzle.
That film, man, it did so much for UI. Futuristic UI design,
so
isn't it?
It's very much like that. So it's all about finding the bits and piecing the puzzle together, and there is like different little like puzzles and mini games that you need to do, and they're very simple. They're not like it's not reinventing the wheel, because ultimately at heart this is a visual novel, and it's an episodic visual novel as well. So it's a three-part game, and only episodes 1 and 2 are available. So episode 1 came out in the launch day of PSVR2. Episode 2 came out 2 weeks later, but episode 3 is not out until later in the year. If you finish 1 and 2, there's going to be a little bit of a wait for the third part. But I think each one kind of tells a little bit of the story and finishes you in a bit of a cliffhanger. Has a good crescendo to get there, so that it's not like. Do you know
how many parts there's going to be?
I think it is just 3. It is a 3-part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Classic.
So the kind of key other thing you need to do within as your role as a supervisor is almost counsel like the residents or the other residents of this city. So you go around and you can flip into this augmented dreaming. So you hold down like X on your right sense controller, and then it takes you into this alternate reality. And it's so vibrant. Like, so you basically, it almost feels like you're in this underwater city, because there's all these like different like neon floating fish and all these things, and like all of the other residents appear as like almost like silhouettes with like little hearts, or so I think it's more like supposed to be a soul than a heart. And then you have to find these ones that are like a red silhouette.
Alex, just listen to what you're saying. It makes no sense.
It does,
I feel like someone is listening to this podcast and they're not quite
sense.
Paying full attention. And they're just sort of tuning in and out. They're like, what is he talking about? What is this game?
I did start, like, it's quite hard to explain and quite hard to review without spoiling it to a certain
wonderfully
extent.
baffling. That's great.
But you need to find these red silhouettes, and you then need to counsel them to like allay their fears. And it gives you, it's basically like different little mini games that kind of gives you that counselling session. It's like memorising a pattern, and then you need to like press follow it type thing. It's like just repeating a pattern of different symbols and stuff like that. So, quite simple again. But.
So is the story it's telling, is it any good though? Is it actually a compelling
it is
story?
Quite compelling.
That's the key thing with these visual novels. You know, if it's telling a really compelling story that you want to keep playing, then.
Because basically Hal has been taken into this city, and you're kind of finding out bits and pieces about his background, but he's been experimented on almost that he can't remember it. So you're finding it out as he's finding it out, and you do kind of relate to the character. You feel like you are the character. Probably going back to what we were talking about earlier on, you don't really have a body, you've just got some arms. You do see him at bits at different points within, like when you go to those vignettes, you kind of see him as a child and things like that. But you're going through the time, and what I did get a little bit annoyed with it, because you get to the end of this day and then something happens, and I'm not going to, then you need to start again. It's one of those like, you really going to make me go through this again? Like, but it doesn't, and you're like, oh no, I don't want this to be a Groundhog Day experience. I don't want it to be a death loop. I just want to kind of progress the story, but it pulled itself back and didn't properly make you go right through whole thing again. And then it takes you to this central location. It's almost like a G. I don't know how I would describe it. It's like this big. It almost reminded me of like seeing like the Thor films and where Heimdall is to open like the bridge. He's in that.
You're
big,
just making stuff up now. Aren't you?
It's where you open the Bifrost room, like in Thor. It kind of reminded me of that. There's this big like celestial thing where you can turn back time to start again, but it locks in your memories at a certain point in time. And I know I'm not doing a very good job at selling or explaining or reviewing this game, and this is supposed to be a review, but I do like this game, and for me to be a person who doesn't really like anime to a certain extent, I'm not an anime person, but to be taken in by the story, enjoying the experience, I'd say this is worth. If you like that kind of thing, you will like this.
Do you know how long each episode, or episodes 1 and 2 at least?
It's probably about 4 hours each, I think.
Okay. So
they're not hugely long.
That's quite long for VR games.
Yeah, so I thought because it was episodic, it would be shorter than it is, but it does take you a little while. There's things to find, there's things to do. I will comment on the sickness scale though. So this did make me feel sick. But I think that's because it gives you the 2 options of movement. You can either move freely with like the left thumbstick, or you can use that more like teleportation style that you can move the pointer and move to that next area with the right. And once I started shifting to that more like point and click movement and moving to where I wanted to go, it was much better. But when I was moving around just using the kind of free movement, it did give me that almost like, oh, I'm not feeling great here, and I had to stop once. And like that way we've learned that if you're going to start to feel a little bit nauseous, you stop, and I did manage to do that. So
on the Ben Congleton Grumpy Old Man scale?
Grumpy Old Man scale, you're fine because you're literally sitting the whole time. There's no you're not really doing a lot. You're kind of pointing. That the most thing you're really doing in the game is pointing and trying to work out where some objects might need to get put. That's really it.
I can point at things.
But in terms of that wow factor, I think it's that Minority Report feeling. You feel like you're investigating it, and when you realise you have to pull bits of evidence out and finding the right place to piece it, and then it all kind of getting that nice feeling when it all starts to come together. I think there is a bit of a wow factor there, but I think you probably need to have an inclination in this type of game. It needs to be that narrative story, probably almost an anime-esque feeling, and that visual novel type experience, but it's nice to feel like you're inside the novel. That's probably its wow factor.
Yeah, I'm definitely keen to try it out for sure. Because again, it sounds like nothing I've played before, so for that reason alone.
And it's nothing I've played before, which is probably why I'm really struggling to sell it and explain it, but I don't want to spoil it either, because if you spoil the story, there's no real point in playing the game. It's one of those. So, yeah, if you like that type of thing, I would highly recommend this to you.
Wow. Okay. So the final game we're going to talk about today is one that we've both been playing, and that is a game called Synth Riders. So Synth Riders sees you... Well, God, where to start? It's a dancing rhythm game where you have to reach out and hit the notes as they appear on screen in front of you. So they're constantly coming down a track. You have to use your left hand or your right hand to touch them, depending on what colour they're in. And in doing so, you have to just dance like a maniac, basically. And you dance in time with the music, the beats that you have to hit the beats as they hit. You're doing it in time with the music. And it generally combines to make you feel incredibly cool, whilst in real life you look like a complete and utter idiot.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter, because in the game you feel absolutely so cool, and you really get into it. Well, at least I do. I can't really get into it, and I'll kind of embellish it. I'll kind of be sort of head bopping along as well, despite not needing to and stuff. Just really getting into time with the music and things. And the stages that you're doing this in, you can do any of the tracks in any of the stages. So it doesn't mean the stages aren't linked to the tracks anyway, but they are very epic environments that you're in. Some very sort of Tron-esque, futuristic cityscape, very, I don't know, kind of 80s vision of the future kind of thing.
Yeah, it has that feeling.
Yeah, okay, I'm glad you got what I meant there. Sometimes I'll start a new one and I'll be just looking around in awe at it all and just trying to take it all in, and then I'm like, oh shit, here come the beats. So I've got to concentrate on this. And when you are playing, you do have to get really in the zone and focus on on the beats and stuff. And it's only when you're doing a kind of a long rail that you can just sort of grind along with your beat, that you can just pause and just look around for a minute until you get to the end of the beat that you're on. But it's the track listing there's so many tracks on there. I think it's about 50 or 60 odd tracks that you get with the game, and then I think it's the same again as DLC. So the selection you get, they're all original music, so not bands that you'd have heard of that are in the game initially, but they're all sorts of songs. I mean, there's lots of different genres in there. I keep looking for all the 80s power ballads and going along with those.
Can't beat a good power ballad.
Yeah, and there's one of the songs that I just have in my head. Every time I play this game, I have the song in my head all the next day, which must be a sign of just the music is really good, and I really like it. The tracks are all really good and original. But then you can download lots of tracks as well. So the version of the game that I've got has all of the Gorillaz tracks. So if you're a fan of Gorillaz, the band, it's got lots of tracks from them in it. There's songs you can download from The Offspring. There's some violin lady that you've got some tracks by that you said is pretty good. But the big draw for me and the downloadable tracks are songs by Muse. So I've downloaded a few of those, and they're really good. I wish I think I might have to buy the whole pack of them, because I'd happily just play this game and just play the Muse tracks.
Yeah.
So it's very much, this is the nearest we can get to Beat Saber.
For now, yes.
For now, and this looks, I don't know, Beat Saber it's the same sort of rhythm dancing action kind of game, but this looks cooler to me. There's a bit more going on with this, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm looking forward to trying Beat Saber for the first time as well. But it's going to have struggled to. I'm going to be impressed if it's more enjoyable than this. And I would say this is probably my favourite game that I have played so far in terms of how much fun I have with it. And it's only sort of thing I want to play for 5-10 minutes in between other things, because it's just enough to just jump in, play a couple of tracks. But it's just the feeling it gives you, it's such a, really just wakes you up, and just big grin, energetic. It's not so energetic you get all hot and sweaty, which is what I like about it. It's not so energetic that you just go, oh God, I can't do anymore. I can't. But just after you've done a couple of it, that's great. You get really in the mood for it. It's a really good warm-up game to play, and then I can jump into another game. So yeah. I'm really enjoying it. There's lots of different genres of music on there. It looks amazing. It's very, very slick. It's also a great game that you can give to other people that don't play games. No one needs any skill in sort of gaming skill to be able to play this game. My wife has been playing it. She really likes doing it, and she picked up a regular controller, but she really likes playing this, and she really enjoys it as well. So it's very highly recommended. It's only £16 for the base game, so you get a lot of tracks in that. You've got high score chasing, so you can global score leaderboards. You've got all your friends leaderboards. There's lots of different difficulty settings as well, so you can look at all the tracks. Some of them have got different beats per minute, and then you can do easy, like normal, hard, and then master. I think there's a novice as well. So there's lots of difficulty settings, so you can make it. You can pick a difficulty setting and find the sort of speed of track that works for you. And there's different modes as well. You can play it, so you get scored for it if you hit the beat, and if you hit it really hard, you get more points rather than just hitting it in time. And obviously you get the combos as well. And if you can get a perfect one where you don't miss a single beat, it's incredibly satisfying.
Well, yeah, that's such a good feeling when you get that first perfect, perfect play. I mean, I completely agree with everything you've said, Laurie. Like, this has probably been my favourite experience in this. It just makes you smile, you enjoy it. Perfect for jumping in for one or two tracks. And when you I don't think you mentioned it there, but you also get the experience tracks, which you're not trying to get a high score, but it's more about it's very much more about experiencing the game. So it's like special stages for specific tracks where it's just like taking you in a completely different direction. Yeah. It almost that gave me Tetris Effect vibes, like that kind of Tetris Effect experience, and that's the biggest compliment I can play to this because Tetris Effect is one of the best games probably ever made.
I should point out with those experience tracks, you're absolutely right. They are an integral part of it. Sadly, they're all in the UK release anyway, or the EU release at least. They're all part of the DLC. None that come with the base game, which is a shame because there should be at least one with the base game because they are something that everyone should try. And I feel like a lot of people won't just get the DLC because they'll just steer away from that. They're only, I think it's about £1.60 to download extra tracks, or you can, I think it's about £10 for a pack of them by that whichever artist. So anyone that buys this game, I would recommend at least one experience. Just have a look and see which one is the artist that you like. It's only £1, so just kind of add that into the cost, factor that into the cost of when they're buying the game, because you absolutely need to have an experience on this. They're not in the usual tracks. You are in these kind of music video-esque type things, and the one I've got is for Muse Amnesia, I think it's called, and it's amazing. It's absolutely stunning. I'm a huge Muse fan. I've seen them live quite a few times, and it's like getting inside Matt Bellamy, the lead singer of Muse. It's like getting inside
him.
Well, you said it.
That's some experience.
It's just like you're inside his brain, and like this is what he's going through his head when he's coming out with this music, because it's so. If he could, this is what he wants you to. Because it's like that whole kind of space opera type thing, and he really brings that to life in a way that I've never experienced before. So it's really sort of transcendental type experience with it. Like you say, with Tetris Effect, it's such a. All of your senses, and you're complete and utter absorbed in it, because obviously there's no distractions when you're in VR. You can't look at your phone, or you can't just look away from it. You can't hear anything else. You are fully in this experience. For those alone, it's worth picking up and trying out.
Yeah, I would agree. If you own a PSVR2 and you haven't bought this game, you're doing something wrong, in my opinion. I have two key criticism of it though. First one, there's no Coldplay, and I've told the developers that they need to sort that. So I have tweeted them and said we need Coldplay in this game. They asked me what songs I wanted. I told them, so I'm fully expecting them to appear now. The better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The better.
I mean, some of the stuff could work, I suppose. I could see how some of it would work.
I gave them songs that would work.
Yeah.
So they just need to do it. And there's no sort of story or campaign mode. That's probably my key. I would really appreciate something that just takes you through the game. Like, I know you can just go back and pick another, even if it just continued and like kind of gave you something like to make it. It could do with some sort of story mode. That's my main, but it doesn't need it. But I think it would just from that single player experience, just to kind of keep you going, it would be quite nice to like give you rankings or ratings.
You could have like a sort of half-hour long collection of tracks, and you could start off. The stages could start off, the bottom of a tower, and as you could work your way up the levels and stuff to where there's a final boss type experience at the top of it, where you had to get progressively harder. So I could see how they could create a campaign. They could integrate these mechanics into a campaign. So maybe for Synth Riders 2, maybe tweet them and tell them that idea as well, Alex, and maybe they'll give you a
campaign and Coldplay, the two C's.
Yeah, and maybe co-op as well for a third one. It would be fun if you could do it side by side with someone.
Yeah,
as all things
you can do multiplayer though, can't you? We haven't tried that. We should try that. I think there's a multiplayer.
Okay. Good, but like you say, anyone who has PSVR2, you owe it to yourself to play this game. It's fantastic. So it definitely gets the stamp of approval. There's no vomit. It's not that sort of game. You don't move in it. It's just stuff comes towards you and you have to hit it, basically. The grumpy old man is not... Yeah, sorry, Ben, but if you want to sit in your chair and not move, this isn't the one for you. It's quite energetic. Not like Beat Saber type levels of you see people sweating profusely, but you do have to get up and dance around. And it's most definitely a WoW type game for the sheer spectacle of it all.
Play this game.
Experiences. Yeah. Play this game. Well, I think that's a good place to end on, as ever. Alex, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure. Another 3 good games.
Yes, it's always a pleasure to spend a Friday night with you, Laurie.
Oh yeah. Well, there you go. One of these days we'll review some games and they'll be like, no, it was a load of rubbish, that game. But not yet. I'm pleased to say the stuff we've been playing has all been very good. So Thank you, everyone, again for listening. As I said at the start, if you fancy getting a bit more involved with us, please do check us out. I'd recommend starting with our Discord. Maybe start there, just sort of test the waters a little bit, see how you get on, and if you really like us, then you can get a bit more involved. Who knows? Maybe you can be presenting a podcast with us. If you've got a Steam Deck and you want to present a podcast with Alex, then just
there's an opening. I might bring my Xbox podcast back soon as well. Look out for that. It might be an episode soon.
Enough about your openings, Alex. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you again soon. Until then, though, goodbye.